Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this video. It's me, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series, Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. Before we start with today's episode, quick reminder, if you want to be entered in to win this Funko Pop of Chucky, all you need to do is be subscribed to my channel and leave a comment on this video. Now you can enter once per video on all my videos released from my Nails in a Coffin episode on when I covered Black Friday till December 16th, when I'll select somebody at random and send them this Funko Pop of Chucky. You have about one more week to enter by the time this video goes out, and this is just my way of saying thank you for watching and my way of spreading some holiday cheer this season. Today we're discussing Silent Night, which is a remake of 1984's Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is a movie I truly adore. I covered that movie and its sequel last year, and I'll put a card up here for you all to check it out. I'd really appreciate it. And in those movies, you had Santa, who was killing those people who were naughty, and I'm assuming that's going to be the case with this remake. And let's see how that pans out while we put some nails in a coffin in Silent Night. The first kill is just 4 minutes into the film, and it's Deputy Jordan. He's tied to a chair with Christmas lights all wrapped around him. The killer Santa turns on an electrical switch, and this electrocutes the deputy, frying him to death. Now, we didn't see how the deputy got in this predicament. He was already tied up when we first saw him, and I really don't have much else to go on here, so I'm going to be unable to give him a nail rating. I can't say how he could have avoided this death if I didn't see how he came to be in his position. So, for the first kill, no nails for him. Now, our first on-screen kill is one of the most evilest young girls I've seen in a horror movie. She dies next. This little turd just finished yelling at her mom, saying she didn't care about her mom's heart medication and that her mom needed to drive her to the mall right now. So the evil Santa knocks on the door as the mom is going to go get ready in the car. So the young girl answers the door and she sees it's Santa Claus. She makes some stupid comments, but he takes a cattle prod out of his sack and electrocutes her. She's frothing from the mouth and everything, and then he finally finishes off with a stab from a fire poker. So, this first on-screen kill in Silent Night was an evil little bitch, and I'm going to give her one nail in the coffin. There's no doubt that she was naughty, and in this franchise, Santa pretty much kills those who are naughty. And this little girl was over-the-top evil, not caring about her mom's heart medication, even knocking the pills out of her hands, demanding she gets taken to the mall. And I'm saying that she was killed because of her actions being evil, not necessarily stupid, but her being evil was technically stupid, and that's why she's dead. So, first kill in the movie, she's getting one nail in the coffin. Real quick, the next death was off-screen. Deputy Bradamore found Alana's remains, and she was all chopped up into pieces. She was actually with the Deputy Jordan at the beginning of the movie. We saw she was tied up, but we don't see how she died, so no nails in the coffin for her. The evil Santa kills Goldie next. She's in a motel room taking part in a sexy photo shoot. The Santa Claus knocks on the door and Goldie answers it, and she's a little puzzled as to why she's seeing someone dressed as Santa Claus standing there. Well, she looks down and she sees that he's holding a large scythe, but before she can really react, he takes the scythe and impales her with it. I'm going to award Goldie 2 nails in a coffin. You know, she didn't see the scythe at first because she was pretty much curious as why somebody dressed as Santa Claus standing in the doorway. And as soon as she saw the scythe, you can see the terror in her face, but it was too late for her to really do anything, and she was impaled. And I can't say she did anything stupid. I'm saying I don't think she had enough time to react. She was kind of in shock, I suppose. So, as you know, if the victim isn't given much of a chance, they're normally going to get 2 nails in the coffin. Frank, who was the photographer at the naughty photo shoot, didn't see any of this. His back was turned, taking pictures of Maria. When Maria saw what happened, you know, she ran and locked herself in the bathroom. And by the time Frank turned around, Santa came up and impaled him in the crotch with the scythe, and must have been an excruciating, painful death. So Frank was one of those victims to have a very slow reaction time, and I'm giving him 1 nail in the coffin. Goldie answered the door and saw Santa, which is not out of the norm. And I can understand why her reaction time wasn't as fast. But Frank had no idea what was going on behind him. Granted, he was distracted. There was a naked woman in front of him. But when he turned around and he saw the guy in the Santa suit coming at him, which is out of the norm, I would suppose, he didn't move or do anything, as if he had no reflexes. I think the body's going to have a natural reflex. If somebody's charging at you and they're moving at you, you're going to back up, tense up, do something. But he was just kind of frozen there. And when you have no reflexes in my Nails in a Coffin series, there's a good chance you're only going to get 1 nail in the coffin. Maria was still locked in the bathroom because she knew to get away ASAP. Santa busted in the room. He got a hold of her and started to strangle her with the shower curtain. But she was momentarily saved by Frank, who wasn't dead just yet, and this gave her enough time to climb out of the window while Santa was finishing off Frank. She fell out of the window and landed in some trash, but then she ran knocking on doors. No one was able to help her, and then she ran into a Christmas tree lot. Well, she stopped running looking for Santa, and she was about to go run again to try and get some help, but Santa showed up, swung an axe at her, cutting off her leg, and then he picked up the leg, picked up her, turned on a wood chipper, and picked her up and feet first dropped her into the wood chipper in a very mean-spirited kill. And I had to think on this one, and I was going back and forth on 2 nails or 1 nail, but after some thought, I'm going to give her 1 nail in the coffin. I like how she knew enough to run away when she first saw Goldie get killed, and when no one was there to help her, she ran to the Christmas tree lot to look for any type of help. However, I don't know why she stopped running. If someone is chasing you with an axe and all you have on is the pair of panties you have on, you may want to keep running. Even if you come to a locked door and no one is there, just keep running. Run till your lungs burst. Something. I wanted to give her more than 1 nail since she did try and get away, but it's one of those common tropes in a horror movie where the victim stops looking instead of just keep running and screaming for help. Because she ruined some opportunities for safety, so I'm only going to be able to give her 1 nail in the coffin. The town reverend is next up on the chopping block. He's doing a passionate sermon at church, screaming about sin. But Santa is there with one other person, an elderly woman. One thing to mention about the reverend, he's a creep, like a really gross one that you don't want to be around. Anyways, the reverend is preaching about sin, being very overdramatic, and he's leaning over the pew in front of Santa. Santa quickly takes out a knife, cuts off the reverend's fingers. As he's sitting there screaming, looking why he has no more fingers, he gets stabbed in the stomach a bunch of times, and Santa Claus kills him. This creepy reverend earned himself barely 2 nails in a coffin. He was giving a sermon in an almost empty church, and I doubt he would have any inclination why he was in danger. Santa did quickly cut off his fingers and stab him to death. He didn't have much time to react, and there was nothing he really could have prepared for. He was a gross creep, but I didn't see him make any stupid decisions that would have aided in his death. So, he'll meet God with only 2 nails in the coffin. Jane Jones dies next, and it's in a flashback. Deputy Bradamore is questioning someone at a bar who's dressed up like Santa, since he may be a suspect. He tells her that Christmas can go, F itself, and that years ago there was a woman who cheated on her husband, and she was at a Christmas party. The husband, with the makeshift flamethrower, showed up at the party to get revenge on her. Everybody ran away from the party, and the wife was on the ground pleading for forgiveness. Didn't really work at all, and the husband used a flamethrower on her, burning her to death. Mrs. Jones is going to get 1 nail in the coffin. She was cowering on the ground while her husband was using the flamethrower, and I'm saying she had time to run, but she didn't do anything. I don't feel as though this was the time to apologize to her husband as he's trying to kill people with a flamethrower. She could have at least tried to run away and keep running, and I think the range of a flamethrower is about maybe 10 to 20 yards. It was a makeshift one, and she could have run like everybody else and keep running. Maybe she would have gotten burned. Not sure, depending on how fast she could run, what the husband's reaction time was. But she really didn't do anything but cower on the floor and, get flame sprayed. So not much I can do here for Mrs. Jones. She's going to get 1 nail in the coffin. Major Reeve is outside enjoying a cigarette, and some of the lights on his deck went out. He then received a phone call from Sheriff Cooper, and while he was on the phone, Santa came up from behind him, wrapped a string of lights around the Major's throat, and he started strangling him. While he was struggling, he tried to free himself, but it was of no use, and Santa was able to strangle the Major to death. I'm going to give the Major 2 nails in a coffin. He was attacked from behind while he was distracted on the phone. He did struggle, and I'm not sure what he could have done to get free. He had someone standing behind him trying to strangle him.
Step back, Daniel-san! Step back!
Well, maybe if he had some training from Mr. Miyagi, he could have got away. But I didn't see anything the Major did that was a stupid decision after he was attacked. He was on the phone with the sheriff, and he was trying to get to the phone, but his plan didn't work. So the Major's going to go with 2 nails in the coffin. While the Major was being murdered, his daughter Tiffany and her boyfriend Dennis were upstairs in her room for some happy time. They were having fun and had to stop when Dennis was investigating a noise he heard out in the hallway. Well, Santa Claus was hiding in a room behind the door, and he slams the door shut and rips the doorknob off, locking Dennis out of the room. Tiffany takes off running, but Santa throws an axe at her, and it hits the back of her ankle, and she falls to the floor. Santa picks her up, and in a kill reminiscent of Linnea Quigley's death in the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, he picks her up and impales her on some deer antlers. I'm going to give Tiffany 2 nails in a coffin. She screamed and ran when she saw the evil Santa, and an evil axe was thrown at her, slashing her Achilles tendon, so she couldn't really run away after that. She was screaming for help, but Dennis was locked outside and her father was dead. When Santa picked her up, she kicked, she screamed, she punched, she fought as hard as she could, and nothing she did here would lead me to give her 1 nail in the coffin, so Tiffany is going to rest with 2 nails in the coffin. Dennis dies shortly thereafter. He breaks into the room, the door swings open, and he sees Tiffany impaled on the antlers on the wall, and obviously he's in extreme shock. From behind, Santa hits him in the back with an axe, sending him to the floor. He's coughing up blood and can't move. Santa Claus is standing over him and bifurcates Dennis's head in a brutal kill that I really cannot show on YouTube. Dennis wasn't given much of an opportunity here to survive, and I'm going to award him with 2 nails in a coffin. He did bust down the door after Santa tried to lock him out, and he knew his girlfriend was in danger. Of course, he was in shock when he saw her impaled her on the wall, and he took an axe to the back right along his spine and collapsed to the floor, as anybody really would, and there wasn't much he could have done to prevent his death here, and he earned himself at least 2 nails in the coffin. The police know that a killer Santa is on the loose, and they go to the holiday parade, which is littered with suspects dressed like the jolly fat guy. Sheriff Cooper arrested Jim Epstein, who is dressed as Santa Claus, and he's played by Donald Logue, and he's currently in a jail cell at the police station. He has this diatribe about the holidays, and it's performed extremely well in one of the better parts of this movie.
Where's my gift-wrapped Norman Rockwell wife? Huh? And my beautiful, happy, smiling children?
Deputy Bradamore goes back to the motel from earlier in the movie, and she follows Stein Carson, who's been acting suspicious. They see him as a suspect. He was the guy in the Santa Claus that told Aubrey about the flamethrower Santa in the flashback. She follows him to his motel room, and she busts the door open with her gun drawn. She tells Stein to put his hands up. But instead of doing that, he picks up a gun instead and points it at the deputy. She tells him to put the gun down, put his hands up, but he has his finger on the trigger, and you can see he's about to pull it. He's tensing his finger. So Audrey pretty much has no choice but to put a bullet right between his eyes. I'm giving this moron 1 nail in the coffin. This is pretty cut and dry with me. He was pointing a gun at a sheriff's deputy and didn't follow any of her instructions. She gave him the opportunity to put the gun down and put his hands in the air, but he chose to tense his finger on the trigger like he was going to shoot her, and I feel like though she had no choice but to shoot him. And I'm just basing this on the training I had in the military doing security and force protection. I say he could have avoided his death if not for his stupid decisions, so this moron's going to get 1 nail in the coffin. Deputy Giles is up next. He's working at the station with Sheriff Cooper. The sheriff had him take the trash out so we can get a call back to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
That's the one. In the parking lot, there's a car parked with the windows frosted over, playing music. The deputy goes over, knocks on the window rolls down, and when the deputy looks inside, he can't see anyone, and when he says hello, an axe slams into his eyes, killing him. Deputy Giles earned himself 2 nails in a coffin. Another kill here where the victim really didn't do anything wrong and wasn't given much of an opportunity. All he did was knock on the window of a car in the parking lot at a sheriff's station. I don't think there was any warning signs that he was in any danger, and I didn't see any stupid decisions as well. And as you know, if the victim is not given much of a chance of survival, they're going to get 2 nails in the coffin. After Santa kills the deputy, he heads up to the police station to kill the sheriff. When the sheriff is opening a gift on his desk, it contains a lump of coal, and then all the lights go out. The sheriff gets up to go investigate, and as soon as he walks out of his office, he sees Santa standing there with the flamethrower. Sheriff Cooper draws his weapon before he can shoot. He's flame sprayed by Santa and is burned to death. I'm giving Sheriff Cooper, who was played really well by Malcolm McDowell, 1 nail in the coffin. As soon as he saw Santa standing there in the dark with the flamethrower, he pulled his weapon and told Santa it was a mistake to bring a flamethrower to a gunfight. I'm saying his ego got the better of him here. After Santa let the flame go, he never even tried to retreat or anything. He should have, I say, shot Santa on sight when he was pointing the flamethrower at him, but he thought he can intimidate this evil Santa Claus with the flamethrower first. And I'm going to give him a high 1 nail in the coffin, and I first thought maybe 2 nails, but after reviewing this footage a few times, I think he could have done a lot of things differently and maybe have survived. So, Sheriff Cooper, 1 nail in the coffin. While this was happening, Audrey is home at her dad's place. Unfortunately, she found him disemboweled in his chair, and this was a sad death for me because I really liked his character. He was a good dude, seemed like a great dad, but he was killed off screen, so I can't give him an L rating. Only a couple more deaths in Silent Night. When Santa was roasting the sheriff, Jim Epstein was still in his cell. Santa lets him out, and they get into a Santa versus Santa fight. Jim punches Santa, but he no-sells it and says, "Not nice." Scene would have been much better if he said naughty, because it would have been like the original. Not nice just sounded dumb. But they get into a fight, which goes back and forth for a second. Santa's able to knock Jim down on the ground, and he puts on some ho-ho brass knuckles and punches Jim in the head till he's dead. Good old Jimbo gets 1 nail in the coffin. He wanted to run his mouth and antagonize someone who just killed the sheriff with the flamethrower. Simple one here. I say he did this to himself. If he kept his mouth shut, maybe he had a chance to survive. So, Jim, you're getting 1 nail in the coffin. Audrey arrives at the police station and she gets into a fight with Santa. The fight goes on for a few minutes till Audrey was able to use the flamethrower on Santa, setting him on fire with the rest of the police station. And then the movie ends with our final death. We find out that Santa is not dead. He's in a pickup truck with half of his head burnt. We get a flashback to when Ronald Jones Sr. just killed his wife with the flamethrower from the flashback earlier. His son Ronald Jr. was in a truck watching this happen, and Ronald Sr. was our evil Santa Claus. Sheriff Bradamore, Audrey's dad, showed up, told Ronald Sr. to put the flamethrower down. He didn't listen, so the sheriff shot him, and then the tank of the flamethrower ruptured, and Ronald Sr. was burnt to death. His son Ronald Jr. is this new evil Santa in this movie, and then the movie ends. The final death in Silent Night was Ronald Sr., and I'm giving him 1 nail in the coffin. He went nuts after his wife cheated on him, and he lost all semblance of sanity. He didn't have to die, but I think he pretty much chose his fate, and I think he was stupid in the decisions that he made on what he did. And I'm sure he was distraught and whatnot, but I'm going to end this Nails in the Coffin episode by awarding Ronald Sr. 1 nail in the coffin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my Nails in the Coffin for Silent Night. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and leave a comment down below so you can be entered in to win this Funko Pop of Chucky, and I will select that person on December 16th. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you guys next Wednesday for my next installment of my Horror Movie Superlative series, and next Friday for another episode of Nails in a Coffin. So I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. I hope you're enjoying the holidays, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.